Hey everyone, welcome back to 3D6 Down the Line. We have sort of a special mini episode for you here. We know that a lot of you have been clamoring to discover what happened to Rin and the rest of the party when the rest of those fools teleported to points beyond. So we're about to discover what that is. I myself do not know. David has been apprised of the situation up to the point where the other party members disappeared after crossing certain planes in front of that blue pillar that's in the center of the room that we're about to describe here. But David has refrained from discovering where they teleported to, so he has no idea. So he is basing this purely upon the facts as they are given in the current scene, and he's going to decide from that point. So I'm looking forward to finding this out as well. So we're going to be calling this Tack-on effects, but it is sort of like an inserted episode in between episode 50 and episode 51. So it's sort of like 50.5. Oh, and by the way, my name's Jon. I'm the referee for the evening. And of course, we have here
David playing Ren.
Yes. Okay. So we're doing a little one-on-one sort of session here, but it's not just Rin in the party. So when the other party members disappeared, who was left behind was Rin, who was the sole PC left behind. But standing with them on the stairway entering up into the room from the northern end, alongside Rin, are Elizabeth, the druid, and Yost, the fighter, along with Lyta, who was the thoroughly insane woman who they discovered back in the Lost Chambers of Arden. So Lyta is not technically a retainer because she has no ability to really carry anything or obey orders or fight or anything like that. She's purely an NPC, but she's very happy to have left the Lost Chambers, and the party as a whole has promised her to get her out. But she is right now. She's in a bit of a state because she's watched a bunch of her newfound companions disappear. Yost and Elizabeth are also very unhappy that both of their respective hirers, their employers, have also disappeared. So they are left with this guy who is brand new. this rather standoffish elf.
Perfect.
So, like, basically, who is the retainer here, really, right? Like, these guys are veterans of the party. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to be rolling for Yost and Elizabeth. David will run them as retainers, though, so I won't be making any decisions for them. Right now, Elizabeth has animal friendship, invisibility to animals, and cure light wounds for her spells. She is wielding Ignis, which was Goran's old gladius sword, the one that can light on flame, and Yost is carrying, as always, the black iron spear and shunning armor, as is the way. What spell does Rin have memorized right now?
I have Charm Person memorized.
Excellent.
Seems like a fun one.
Okay, so it is the 3rd of Jelenios. I can't remember the exact turn when all the disappearing happened, so I kind of look back at the old time tracking sheets, and I'm just going to call it loosely for your vector of the campaign. We're starting at 9 a.m. on the 3rd of Jelenios, okay?
All right.
That's where you're going to be. I'm going to record this separately on a separate sheet here for Rin. Okay. First question I have for you, David, is would you like Elizabeth to wield Ignis plus shield, or would you rather her have Jockin's bones out? Or would you rather have a lantern?
Are there any natural light sources? Sorry if I'm asking things that have already been covered, but I just want to get a quick appraisal.
There is
I
not.
don't think light sources. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would have and Ignis has the ability to set fire, but it has a duration with which it can do so.
Only 1d6 rounds, so it's very brief.
Yeah. So I'll wait on that. So I'm gonna have Elizabeth have the lantern out.
A lantern, okay.
And then I guess for now a free hand, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to take off an oil flask on my end. And she's going to start a lantern. Very good. So that's a 24. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is Elizabeth's lantern. Okay, and in her other hand?
I mean, I'm tempted. I don't think at the moment Jockin's bones is something that I need. So I'll just have her other hand be free for the moment. Yeah.
Okay. She has a shield if you want her to wield a shield.
She'll be fine.
Okay. And don't forget too, if you want her to do Yakin, to present the bones, it has to be 2 hands. Okay.
That's good to know. I should note that as well. Yeah, I think for the first couple things, I'm curious about. She won't need to have her shield out, but that might be a famous last words sort of situation.
And your fellow players watching this are just shaking their heads.
I'm sure.
Okay. So real quick for the audience, I'm just going to give a quick brief reprisal of what the room looks like. And might help you as well, David. Okay, so what we're looking at here is a circular chamber. It's approximately 40 feet in diameter. In the direct center of the chamber, there is a 25 foot tall hexagonal pillar, but that does not. It does reach to the top. So the top is actually 25 feet above. So it's basically like this pillar in the direct center of the room that supports it. And the floor is covered with blue dust and shards of blue tiles as well. Okay. It looks like the pillar itself had been covered with blue tiles at one point, but most of them have fallen off and broken around the edge. And the walls, it looks the dome and the walls used to be covered in light blue tile as well, but most of those have also crumbled. So the whole impression is just generally like blue everywhere, right? However, there is a clear path that has been swept aside, or just through a lots amount of foot traffic has been forged from the pillar leading eastward, or vice versa, whatever. You can't really tell because you can't see any footprints. It's just literally just a path of clear flagstone that leads to the eastern passageway. And speaking of passageways, there are 4 egresses, each at the cardinal points. They're all just a little bit off center, but the Ted's map is accurate. So no one has been able to cross the halfway point of this room to get to the south. Everyone has disappeared in that attempt. Okay, so you can surmise that each of the facets of the pillar have at eye line a carved face in them of some sort, and you have gotten the details about 4 of them. So on the northwest is a goblin face. On the northeast is a bearded face that has been graffitied over top with Mithric graffiti. The eastern one was a noblewoman, and the western one was a caricature of a priest of Thoth. There's more detail to those, but the what was I going to say? Oh, so we're going to retcon a little bit of a thing here. I have a lot to thank our community members for suggesting this as a good reason. I made a mistake last session in episode 50 about how I handled the teleportation. I didn't realize that there were triggers that needed to be in place for the teleportation to actually occur. Instead of retconning it, I just like rolling with it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say that some other entities at some indistinct point in the past, could have been recent, could have been a long time ago, you're not really sure, had placed the correct triggers in the priest and the noblewoman's face, which caused the teleportation to occur. Thus, the magical effect was ongoing and active because the triggers were never taken out. Okay? So here is what is new information that I have retconned into the scene. This is for you, David, because you're not aware of this yet. Okay?
Love it.
So, first of all, the northeastern face was a very handsome young man with lively eyes, a trim beard, and initially I said there were empty sockets, and that face actually spoke when it was approached, and it says, "I cannot see the path. Help me to see clearly." It did speak, but in addition, there was one strange golden eye that was in its left eye socket, but the other eye socket is empty. That gold eye has been exquisitely carved or created, and it's so lifelike that it actually has like lashes, and the differing parts of the eye, like the iris and the sclera and the cornea, all that sort of stuff has all been perfectly rendered, and it fits perfectly into that socket. But it stands out from the carved face of the blue pillar because it's gold, right? Like it's solid gold. and it's just sitting in the eye socket. Okay. Yet it says the same thing. I cannot see the path. Help me to see clearly. The face itself has been defaced. The nose is broken. The features are worn, and there is ancient graffiti that has been scrawled across the front of the face. Okay. The goblin, I believe, is as listed. Let me just double check here. Yeah, so the goblin is on the northwestern side. A wizened goblinoid face, has pointed ears and pointed teeth and a grinning mouth. However, the nose is completely absent, and it's leaves like a 3-inch diameter hole, at least like a foot deep. All right. You can like easily place a hand in there, that sort of thing. Now, the important ones, the ones that actually teleported people. First, the western one, which was the caricature of the priest of Thoth. Where is he here? On the west. Okay. Narrow face of a man with pronounced cranium, sharp chin, and a crooked nose. At the man's throat is an ibis medallion. I had said that there was nothing in this guy's eyes, that they had small, round holes for the eyes. However, there are 2 ancient silver Arcantian pennies that are in those eye sockets. Okay. On the other side, on the eastern side, there is the woman. This is a dignified middle-aged woman with aquiline nose, pursed lips, and narrowed eyes. She has very large circular sockets for her eyes. And where I had said that they were empty, they are now actually have 2 ancient gold solidi in the eyes. Okay, so the woman has 2 ancient gold solidi. The priest has 2 ancient silver pennies.
Interesting. Okay, that's really good to know.
We don't come across the ancient silver pennies that often. They are dime-sized. So they're actually smaller than modern silver pieces, and the ancient gold solidi are actually larger than regular gold, than modern gold pieces.
Would I recognize them from the cursed pennies I found?
Definitely, yeah.
Well, technically Ren didn't find, but yeah.
I mean, you can't tell if they're cursed or not, but you could definitely peg them as like, oh, those are Arcantian coins.
Cool.
Okay. So that's the deal. You have no idea what the other 2 faces on the south side are. Okay.
All right, that's great to know. I'm gonna toggle muting myself while I type since I have this egregious keyboard, so you'll know if that's the case. Yep. But all right, so fascinating.
If you need any further clarification, just let me know.
I think, on the effigies, all of those make sense to me. There was some speculation I made for the audience's sake when watching that. There's a bit of editorialization going on the part of the architect of this room because some characters had it seemed to have very complementary representations and others do not. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But my current speculation for that reason and others, which may change as we investigate, was that this is a teleportation hub of some sort, and that those various statues represent different cultures in this world and perhaps locations attendant to those cultures. So whether that is the case or not, I will find out.
Yeah. Well, one thing you can tell for certain is the 4 faces you've seen, even though one is a goblin, you can definitely confirm that all of them are, well, except for the goblin, they depict Arcantians.
They all are. Okay, that's good to know, actually.
The goblin it's kind of tough to sell because it's not depicted wearing any sort of dress or anything like that, right? Because it's just face. All these are bas reliefs, by the way, just so you're aware. Not carved in, but carved out, right? And but the goblin has like the features of what you know culturally to be like imperial goblin, right?
Yeah.
So just be aware. But yeah, you're correct. The priest appears to have been like a wild caricature, while the bearded man is actually, how should I put this? The bearded man is not only handsome, but is also the most well carved. You actually might surmise that the bearded man might have been carved by a different sculptor than the others. Okay, it's that different in quality of sculpt. The
quality and sorry, go ahead.
And what?
I'll let you finish your saying, and then I'll ask some questions. How about that?
Oh, just that the dignified middle-aged woman is portrayed. It appears to be realistically. She's not like the ideal of beauty or anything like that. Looks like someone had someone take a pose or something like that and carve. But the priest is definitely not someone that it was not a flattering depiction.
All right, so that may challenge immediately my culture assumption, but that doesn't change the fact that there's probably locations attached with these, since there are differences between them. But okay, so, and you said bas relief, which means it's emerging from the wall, which is very important to some other things.
Pillars, to be clear, the pillar.
Sorry, yes,
right.
yes,
yeah.
yes. I keep confusing in my mind's eye that it's on the pillar, not on the opposite wall to the pillar. Right. So that's very good to know. Okay, so the one thing I was going to ask about the bearded man, since I can see him, is if it appears to be a different style, does it also appear to be a different material, or does the material seem less? Aside from like it being defaced, does it seem less worn with time? In other words, does it seem like a later addition to this pillar?
You don't know that. I can't tell you that because I don't think you would have a background to know that exactly. The features are worn, but so are the features of everybody else. So they've all been here for some significant amount of time. But you have an inkling that that the workmanship is very, very good, but it is possible, just how much of a difference there is with the bearded man, that perhaps that it may not have been carved out of this pillar. It may have been placed there in an ingenious manner, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Love that. Interesting. I'll keep muting myself.
And it is, of course, the only one that is actually spoken.
Yes, that's the other notable thing.
Spoken in modern Arcantian, too.
Okay, but it is defaced with Mithric, yes?
Correct, yes.
Okay, that's good to know. I can't recall if the others tried to talk to him, but I will say, oh there, man. How might I help you see clearly, and see if he says anything different?
It does not say anything.
Okay. I am going to very carefully approach the pillar from the side I know won't transport me anywhere. so just so I'm a little closer. Okay. Let's have the retainers kind of stay middle distance between the northern stairwell and the pillar.
Okay.
There is there's no face on the northern side of this, correct?
No.
Okay, good.
Because the point is directly north, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes. What's facing you that you can see immediately is the northeast and the northwest. Those are the two facets that you're seeing.
Yes. When I approach the pillar from the north, first I'm going to look at the goblin side, and I just want to confirm that the 3-inch crevice within its nose looks like a socketed rather than a defaced hole. Is this correct?
No, it looks like you don't know if it's been defaced, but it obviously at one point had a nose, and it was removed with some sort of blunt force, right? Like it wasn't like it was like carved out and slotted out or anything like that.
In other words, it's not like these golden eyes that are sitting within the golden eyes sitting within the handsome man's.
That's correct. Yeah. But it is a rather large and deep recessed cavity in there.
Let me get Lisbeth to hand me her lantern, and let me just hold that lantern in front of the hole and see if I see anything.
Okay. Yeah. It's so it goes at least a foot like into the pillar, right through the carving into the pillar, and it does appear to be that. So it's kind of weird. It looks like where the nose would have normally have projected was wrenched off and broken off. However, the cavity behind the nose appears to have like a flat bed when you shine the light in it, like deep into the things, as if something it was carved to be like a chamber inside the sculpture. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, as if something perhaps had been hidden within this sculpture and extracted from that
Perhaps,
chamber.
yeah. But there is nothing in there
by
right
brute
now.
force. Okay. And a close inspection doesn't reveal to me beyond that any sort of change in material or any holes or mechanisms on either side that might correlate to the other faces left to right of it.
No,
There's nothing else.
Nope.
Okay. And just to confirm, I got everything.
I'm going to say your inspection of the goblin and the bearded face is taking a turn.
Cool. I thought I noted down the goblin's details, but all I have is it doesn't have a nose. So there's nothing else on it that I notice as a distinguishing aspect, like another socket or a object that is of a different material stuck in. Again, using the golden eye as the reference point, or the Arcantian pennies, etc., etc.
Not that you can see. If you want to spend another turn, you can be 100% sure. But it's up to you.
I'm going to wait on that. What I'm going to do is spend that turn going over to our handsome man, and I want to very closely inspect the seam around his face, and inspect the empty eye socket, as well as I suppose the full eye socket. The intent of which is, if I suspect that this is not carved from the pillar, but added to it, I want to see if there are any seams that I could pry, or that might have a latch that I could like open, like there would be a chamber behind him, or any sort of like mechanisms or things like that.
That'll take a turn. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you really give the bearded man a close look. Are you handling with your fingers? Or are you just looking?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I'm handling with my fingers. I'm going to feel around the seams and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not going to pull the golden eye with my hand.
Gotcha.
Or press it. Like I want to be careful not to engage with that.
Understood. Okay. So first of all, you can definitely find seams, but it's so ingeniously placed on the pillar that the mortar that connects and glues the what appears to be a separate piece of stone to the pillar is almost invisible. Like it's really, really fine workmanship, right? It's only because you're really taking the time and you had a suspicion that you're able to find it. But there is no weakness, right? You would literally have to brute force this thing off. And you definitely don't find any catches that just sort of detaches it, right? So there's nothing like that. You can 100% confirm that the thing was carved and then it was seamlessly implemented, put onto the pillar. The eyes are interesting in the fact that when you compare them to the other two sculptures that have coins in the eyes, the only thing that sort of marred their realistic appearances on the noblewoman and the priest was the fact that the sockets where the coins are not realistic. Like the eye sockets were made to be perfectly round so that round coins could fit into them. You understand? So they don't look. That's the only thing that doesn't make them look normal. However, this face is absolutely lifelike. Right. And so the eye sockets are exactly what a biological eye socket would look like, minus all the blood. Right. And the gold eye that is in the left socket, you can tell that it's resting in there. It is not of a piece, right? It's made out of solid gold and it's resting in there. It might actually be able to be taken out. You're not really sure. You haven't tried yet. But that eye, as I described, is perfectly carved, and it is the exact dimensions of like a real human eye, right? So spherical, I guess so, but it was made to sort of fit into a perfect human eye socket. In addition, when you're up close with your nose like right up against the face, the level of detail is uncanny in that it like the sculptor carved crow's feet, like laugh lines, right? Wrinkles, blemishes on the skin are actually carved into the skin. Right, it looks like super real, except it's just stone.
For what it's worth, was there any temperature difference on the stone? Was it emanating any warmth of its own?
No, it was not. No.
Okay. I will do a mental note of what this face looks like in case I see it later, I suppose.
Okay.
But
Oh, I did tell the guys. I don't know if you remember this when you listened, that they're it's would it be the same? You know what? It wouldn't be the same with you, but we'll say that maybe they related to you. For the people who were like citizens of the empire, they had this vague inkling that they should have recognized what the face is, but they couldn't quite place it. Right. And I basically cut them off because the players were trying to dig around in the past, like their notes and stuff like that to figure it out. But I was just like, it's just, you don't know. Right. Yeah. But you as an elf, I don't think you would have any sort of familiarity at all.
Okay. That's fine. It's totally fine. All right. So I'm not going to touch the eye there yet. On the opposing side is the Thothian caricature. Handsome man, goblin. Yeah. I don't want to get near the others yet. Okay, so I'd like to do a couple quick tests before getting too close to anything. Can I pick up a pebble, John, from the ground? And I would like to test on either side, throwing it basically at the midpoint on the east and west between the wall and the pillar and see if they disappear.
Gotcha. On both sides, right?
Yeah, so I'll try one and the other. Yeah.
Okay. They do not disappear. They react normally. Clatter on the other side of the room.
Good to know.
Also, just so you know, for meta-wise, I will not gotcha with a teleport. Like you saw the plane that they crossed where they teleported, so you don't have any danger of stepping through there unless you tell
I would comprehend it. Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. All right. Just 1 second. Double checking a couple inventory items. Okay. I would like to next. I would like to judge the height. You said of these bas reliefs roughly at my own eye line. Are they at like a human eye line?
Yes.
So like 6 feet from the ground.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. And they protrude out from the pillar, presumably several inches.
Yeah.
Is it sort of like a full head or a half of a head or
like
something
half
like that?
A head? Yeah, like half a head.
Okay. All right. So theoretically, I'm not saying I'm doing this yet. Theoretically, if I was playing, like Metal Gear Solid or something like that, one might, under the security cam analogy, that is this head, get flushed to the pillar and sneak oneself underneath the head in an attempt to not be within the quote-unquote eye line of the statue. Does it seem reasonable in my mind's eye, if I'm thinking of this as like a field of vision, right? Instead of just like a square of teleportation. Does it seem reasonable that if I'm not quote-unquote seen, or I could quote-unquote not be seen by ducking below? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to you, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to eke out an answer, of course, but yeah, that's one thing.
If you're judging, the effect is definitely a thing of like the face sees and everything it sees teleports.
That's what I'm getting.
Yes, you think you would be able to get out of its eye line.
Would not be seen, yes. Which doesn't mean that's the case, but it's just good information to have. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Similarly, the pillar extends all the way to the ceiling.
The pillar, yes, all the way to 25 feet tall, yeah.
25 feet in the air. And there's some distance above these bas reliefs that is also not populated by anything. Yes.
Yeah, most of it actually, right?
Perhaps more than below. Were I able to get up there? Okay, that's good to know.
Well, Elizabeth's lantern can illuminate the entire chamber, right? So you can confirm that.
Yeah.
So the vast majority of the pillar is unmarked with crumbling blue tile that goes all the way up to the ceiling, and it's a domed ceiling, which also had blue tile at one point.
Another spatial question. I assume this is not the case, but if I look at the base of the pillar, do I see a border or a socket or anything, another stone shape that might indicate a rotation is possible?
A good question.
Or does this solidly?
It's flush in the floor. Yeah. The one thing about the base of the pillar that the other party members had noticed was that the cleared area, there is a small cleared area around the base that is not that doesn't have is not collected with full of blue dust and tiles. It's not to say that it's like magically avoiding that at all. Like there's a few pieces that are kind of in there, but it looks like traffic has circled around the pillar in addition to like the path that leads east.
Yes, which is good information, but it does not go from the path east to the pillar, or I guess that's doesn't matter either way, probably. But
yeah, it's just a path. You don't really know direction, like where the traffic was going. Lyda did like in her way. She couldn't really remember anything, but they were able to eke out of her that she has very vague memories of traveling with people coming from that eastern corridor. Like something spurred her memory of like having come from that direction.
Interesting. Okay. Oh man, so many things I could do. Okay. Okay.
That's all you.
I know. No. It's I love it. I mean, I guess the one other thing, which I don't think was the case, but just confirming, opposite to these effigies, I don't see any sort of sculpture or like particular gemstones or tile work or anything like that that seems to sort of mirror the position of those faces.
On the walls? No.
On the walls. Okay. So as if they were like there was a current between the two. Okay.
No. Yeah.
All right. Well, the
walls were clear of. There's no fresco. There was not even like the remains of frescoes. It really looks like just the unique feature about the room is that everything was blue, right? Blue tile.
Good to know. All right, I'm going to go to our dear, handsome, bearded man and say, ever so sorry, my friend. I need to borrow something from you, and I'm going to grab the chisel from my pack, and I'm going to try to gently, I'm not going to like, go ahead, just gently catch an edge so that I'm not touching with my finger, one of his golden eyes, and just kind of flick it and see if I can pop it out onto the floor in front of him.
Okay, so there's just the one. Don't forget, it's only in the left socket.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it does. It actually comes out, and it clinks against the ground, and it has that heavy clunk of solid gold. Great.
I'm going to say, Lyda, be a dear and pick that up for me. My back is terrible.
She scuttles forward. She's like, a bauble, and she pulls it up, and she looks at it. She's like smiling, big like gap tooth smile, like rotting teeth, and she puts it up to her eyes, and she like cackles.
I love it. Over here, may I see it?
For you, fairy lord. For you, fairy lord.
Yes, you are blessed with the vision, the wisdom that all fae worship bestows. Cool. I'm gonna take that and I'll throw that in my pack.
Okay.
Golden eye. Sorry.
Let me just see if there's anything I need to tell you about this. Solid. Yep. Yeah, lashes, pupil, and iris are all incised on the surface of the eye, made out of solid gold.
Wow.
It's unencumbering, so it's free. Yeah.
Cool. Nothing about it seems extra worldly or technological, does it? This isn't like, in other words, it doesn't feel
spaceship.
I don't know. It's spaceshipy. Yeah. Okay, good.
No. But as an elf who was used to like the finer things in life, as far as like beauty and craftsmanship and stuff like that, you would definitely not peg it for the crude machinations of dwarves. Of course, it's definitely not elvish, but you can definitely determine that. Well, I guess as someone who's sort of schooled in arcane things, you're fairly sure that the quality of it is so exquisite that unless there's some sort of renowned, some sort of smith that went unnoticed in history, like this must have had some sort of magical
interesting
basis in its creation.
Sure. I love it. Okay.
Another turn goes by.
Another turn goes by.
3 are up.
Lyda, when she picked up the intent, if it wasn't clear, sorry, when Lyda picked up I was also to get her to walk within the eye line of the thing. I guess I already had, so I didn't need to test that out, but nothing happened, correct?
With the man? No.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
so. Okay.
Yeah. One thing
Just
that
for
you
the.
do see, the man's
Mhm.
mouth was open because it was like a magic mouth that spoke to you.
Mhm.
When the eye pops out, the mouth closes.
Oh shit! Well, was there anything in the mouth before it opened? Because I inspected it closely
It
before.
wasn't like that was
Okay,
the,
okay, yeah,
it was just sort of like parted from
yes,
having just spoken. You know what I mean? But it
sure.
visibly shuts and clamps.
Good to know.
Yeah.
What? Both eye sockets look identical now that I can look at both of them. There's
Yes.
no difference between the two.
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
And they are
Um,
biologically appropriate eye sockets, unlike
Creepy.
the other two.
hmm Okay, I'm going to inch a little closer in that same direction towards the aquiline nosed woman,
Okay.
and using. I'm nervous about that chisel not being long enough. I have ISO staff. Can I attempt using ISO staff because it has some distance to effectively recreate what I did with the chisel and like get the tip of the staff against one of the coin eyes and kind of push it or jostle against it?
I think the
Maybe
staff
not.
doesn't have a fine enough point. Do you know what I
How
mean?
about Oculus? Can I use Oculus, the
Oculus is
sword?
a different story.
I'll do that.
Yeah. Okay. So you whip out Oculus. Okay. It's eye, like Mad Eye Moody's about. You know what I mean? It's like okay.
I wink at it.
Yeah. And your mind is flooded by a sense of well-being and proper use, right? Like it's like it's happy to be in your hands and wielded, that sort of thing, and you can see that it's pressing upon your mind as if it wants to relate something to you. However, it understands, it seems to pick up on you as you're also sending empathic emotions to it as well, that you want it to do something specific. And so because you are in control, it defers to you, but you can tell that it has this desire to impart something to you. Okay. But in the meantime,
Yes.
if you want to stop and get that, you can, but if you want to do your task first with Oculus.
You know what? I'll, in the spirit of, benevolence, I will pause my demand, hearing that he has something he's curious about, or that
Okay.
they do, and say, in my mind's eye, certainly, friend, what is it?
Okay, cool. All right. We'll pause for a second before we see if the blade of Oculus can pry out the woman's what is it? Solid for? Is it solid for her? No, it's
Arcantian. No. Yeah. Solid eye.
solid.
Two ancient golden solid eye. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Oculus, and to be clear for the audience as well, in case you've forgotten, Oculus cannot speak, and it can also not speak telepathically either. So it doesn't speak a language. It imparts empathic emotions basically. And the way I'm going to interpret this for Rin is that it's sort of like watching a montage during a movie or something like that, where he's getting like sense memories, and it's not actually visual in his head. It's just being it's hard to describe. I wouldn't even know how it would actually kind of appear in your head, but I'm going to relate it to you as if you're sort of seeing scenes. Okay. And it's all kind of rapid fire, very hazy and indistinct. And what you're mostly taking out of it is the emotions that were associated with what Oculus witnessed. Okay. Okay. So, Oculus,
Sounds good.
are you ready for this? It's good
I'm
shit.
so
The sentient sword Oculus. This was found upon the corpse of the Knight of the Azure Shield in that depressed circular area amidst the where all the 12 labors of Arden were depicted on those pillars, right? Back in the Lost Chamber. That's where Rin picked up this sword. So the first thing that you see in your head is a younger version of that knight without his armor on is inheriting the sword from his father. Okay. And in addition to the sword, he's also handed at the same time by his father a ring of Arden, which was what was socketed in by Gorand, I believe. Was it Gorand or was it Darius? I think it was Darius. In that which caused that door to open, right? The amethyst intaglio, right? So there was that was what Lyda gave to Darius, right? Remember? Yeah. Okay. So younger version of the knight gets handed Oculus and the ring of Arden. Shows him training with the sword, and then finally accepting knighthood, kneeling before the Lady Alexia and receiving his knighthood. Okay. The montage continues with scenes of him as a young man and in his squireship and his knighthood and all that kind of stuff, being obsessed with the 12 labors of Arden. Shows scenes of him like at night poring over books, trying to emulate what the labors are, talking to sages and things like that. But it just could not get out of his head how important the 12 labors were and how much he tried to emulate everything that Arden did, as reflected in those legends. Another scene shows this, and you can tell in your mind, you can kind of feel that this is progressing forward in time. You see in your mind's eye the cliffs of Arden Vul with the great colossi of Arden and Vul themselves with the falls and that kind of stuff from a distance, right? It switches to the knight inside a large wicker basket rising up the side of the cliff face with the waterfall next to him as he's being pulled up in a wicker basket up the side of the cliff face. Switches over to an underground, vast, bustling marketplace. No sun in sight, but however, the whole place is well lit in a huge cavern. A massive, bustling market, floored in black marble, with all sorts of different peoples and creatures meeting and trading. Yet throughout, the common thread throughout is patrolling through that market are men and women dressed in red armor with the symbol of Set emblazoned upon the breastplates, keeping the peace within the marketplace. The knight himself, bearing Oculos, talks with numerous people, and you can see at one point he's near a stall and he's looking closely at a map. All right. Switches over to another scene where he's descending a long staircase that goes off into the darkness. The staircase is worn and carved from the bare rock, but there are carved faces on the walls at every intervals that all show them with unique visages, all twisted and suffering. All the faces as he descends this long staircase. The emotion there is of great fear and pity and dread. And then it switches over to the room that you're in. The knight faces a towering hexagonal blue pillar with faces, multiple egresses, and the knight chooses to disregard the faces and heads north. Then it switches over to...
Do I have a sense of from where he comes?
No, it just kind of switches over to him, of course, right, in the pillar room. And he heads north. It switches over to another room that you recognize, an archway that leads into a larger hall. And above that archway, it says in Mithric, she was immovable and steadfast. And the knight's paying homage to that. Then it sees him in another familiar place. He's standing before one of the pillars in the Hall of the Labors. It's obviously the first labor because on the pillar there is the Roman numeral 1, an I. And the knight reaches up and he presses that numeral. Then it switches over to a completely different scene. We're now left Arden Vul completely. The knight is finding himself in a valley with steep mountain slopes on either side, a very narrow valley, and he's amidst a village that is consists of only about of like goblins that are running around, just goblins, and like a small little village in the midst of this valley. Switches over to him ascending a mountain in the far distance and entering a cave near the top of that mountain, and within that cave he is attacked by owlbears in the dark. Although it's difficult for him to discern exactly what's all chaos and fear and blood is what you're kind of feeling right now. Intense pain, almost like the Dune scene, right? Is like kind of what you're feeling. Like you're feeling it sympathetically, right? Like intense mortal pain. Switches over to a yellow stone column standing alone in the valley, almost like the monolith in 2001, right? Just kind of freestanding in the middle of the valley. Then the knight's death in the sunken circle back in Arden Vul. The last view that the knight has before the Oculos basically winks out is a view of a fang and a feather in his bloody outstretched hand and two small, dirty, bare feet approaching. And then he passes away. Okay. Good shit.
So I was muted so I didn't clack too much, or you would have heard oohs and ahs that entire time. But whoa, all right, that's a lot.
Yeah, sorry, it's info dump. I'm sorry, but
no apologies. Just to clarify that last point, the last sense I have is that he had his bloodied, outstretched hand holding a fang and feather necklace.
Just the fang and the feather in his hand, not a necklace.
Just the fang and the feather, not a necklace. Okay. And approaching him were two dirty, small feet from. And after I see this, let's say, as if it is irresistible, I will whip around and look at Lyda piercingly.
She's looking at you.
Eyes.
Yes, Lord. Yes.
And say, dear, may I see that lovely necklace of yours?
It's my pretties. It's my baubles. I found them.
Yes, and they are so nice. But they seem perhaps to be of elven make. Did you realize this?
These?
Of my people?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe you can tell. She doesn't take off the necklace, but she kind of holds them out to you.
Okay. Yeah.
I found them on the dead man.
Can I look at them real quick, and then I will get back to the other stuff. I don't want to get too distracted, but can I just do a quick inspection of these while they're on her?
So it definitely looks exactly like the ones that the knight was holding.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Any details beyond the fact that they're a fang and a feather?
Just that you've seen no bird nor predator that has, this kind of feather or fang. Yost kind of comes up to behind you.
One might say an owlbear's feather and fang.
you might, perhaps. Yost is like, you look like you've seen a ghost. Are you all right? You pulled out the sword like you saw something. Then you just stopped in midair.
Yes, my friend. I don't know this guy.
I am your friend. I am everyone's friend.
This is unique. Oh, you have such an affable nature.
That's what they say.
I was going to play Ryan real mercurial, and I'm already just falling into Onweir voice. So, caveat to the entire audience is going to take a second for me to readjust.
Got to find the character. It's cool.
Yeah, for sure. I'll say I had the faintest memory of grand adventures of the sorts that a man like you might be equipped, Yost. If we find ourselves, though we are strangers, if we find ourselves on such an adventure, I can tell you that you will have my sword. I hope I will earn yours in return.
Of course, we don't really have much of a choice. I'm your man for now. I do not want to go wandering these halls alone.
Cool.
It was like, whatever, man. It's cool.
Whatever,
man.
dude.
Listen.
All right, cool. That's amazing. There's a lot I could prod into that, but I think it's kind of its own thing. So I'm gonna table it for now.
Okay.
Though I do think there's, I do wonder aloud whether, if this isn't already something that people realize, but within this like sort of supercut of experiences, going from the first pillar, right, the first trial, to sort of the Goblin Valley and the Owlbear, as it relates, I believe, to the first trial of
you would probably, even as an elf, you'd probably be familiar, because it is the most commonly related labor, because it is the first one.
Exactly.
What you experienced was a vividly real depiction of what you thought was only a legend. You thought it was just like humans being humans. They have to make up these legends in order to feel good about themselves. But like, man, it sure seemed real to you when Oculos conveyed it to you.
Which is great. Okay, so that's really interesting to know. I'm curious if in engaging with that pillar, it either physically or in sort of the mind's eye of this knight transported him to this mountaintop, or if that's something he reached by some other means, for instance, this room.
Yeah, but that's hard to tell. You could definitely get the impression that you're basically being pulsed memories. So there was definitely, it wasn't like a full sequence chronologically, right? It was there was major time jumps. So yeah, unfortunately those details were left out.
Quite all right. Okay, cool. I did also love the set marketplace. But okay, so I would like to return to. I'll acknowledge emotionally receiving this this sort of like life from Oculus,
Mm-hmm.
and focus perhaps as best I can on what little life I've lived so far, as if to relay it back in exchange.
Okay.
Um,
It feels like
not
it's
that-
more. It gives you the impression that it's more satisfied with being in your grip, as if it's sort of unburdened itself with knowledge that it needed to convey, and is now like more like I'm yours. You know.
Love it. Yeah, you are. let's go
For
do some
now.
evil. I hear Alexia's looking for a good beheading. No, anyway, okay, so I'm going to use Oculus to gently pry out the first of 2 gold solidi and see if anything happens.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is there's a sharp point. You know, it's a little bit awkward because you got a huge blade that you're sort of like overhead, like trying to kind of do like that, right? You're kind of
Sure.
And I would say because it's not the ideal tool, that there is a 1 in 6 chance that you may mar a part of the statue's face. Now you don't have to. You're not committed, but you just have this. You have this impression that
whether
yeah.
a chisel would be the ideal tool, though. Correct.
Yeah, like you could do more fine work that way.
What is would the length of the chisel from tip to handle be adequate enough for me to perhaps?
You could be safe. If you're worried about teleporting because you're so close, you wouldn't.
Yes.
You would have to be like right alongside and sort of like do it at the side like this. But at least you'd have like really close if you had a chisel.
I do have a chisel and I'm going to do that.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So I'm going to do that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you don't have Laryl's sack, so it is what you got what you got on you. Okay, so so you get really close work. Put Oculus away. And this way you can definitely easily pry out one of the we're doing the woman, right? Yeah.
Yes, Tack-on.
Yeah, so one ancient gold solidi, which is worth 10 gold. It's also 10 times as heavy, so
I love that. Is there any modal change? Does her mouth close? Does she speak?
No.
Nothing happens.
No,
of note.
Nope. And you managed to pry it out safely, so there's no like dust that or stone pieces that fall out as well. But nothing visibly changes.
Well, I'm gonna do the same thing with the second.
The second one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the second one, you would have to reach across the face to get to that eye, right?
Yes, and I am, based on my experience with the bearded man, hoping. Well, okay. I don't think it will engage anymore, but in an abundance of caution, let's use my sort of wonky logic from before of trying to be underneath it and see if I can't sit sort of like flat. What I'm going to do is to visualize this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sort of straddle the pillar.
Okay.
Well, would it be better to be like this, or maybe I would reverse it actually? So I think I'm back to pillar. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to slide over underneath, and I'm going to reach up because that'll give me a vantage point and try to pry like this from below. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's second eye.
All right. So you slide underneath. You're expecting the worst, but nothing happens, and you are able to pry out that eye. The other, the coin.
Love it. Okay.
So the coins are pure ancient gold solidi. They are not they're not depicted as eyes, right? The way they actually looked in the bas relief faces for both of these guys are more like putting coins on dead corpses sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sort of like Onward did on the corpse way on like our first floor.
Yeah.
Quote unquote floor 1. Okay.
Yep.
Amazing. Now that those have been removed, I'm going to do a close inspection of the face to see if there's any thing within the sockets in terms of a design or any sort of latch, like I did with the man, any sort of like details that are abnormal or that sort of like engage with my fiddling.
And you're going to be in the presumed eye line at this point?
At this point, I'm standing right in front of it.
Okay. Nothing happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
All right. So now at this point, you're kind of seeing what I mistakenly was showing them last time,
Sure.
is that the eye sockets are not biologically correct. They're oversized. They're meant to fit exactly like a solid and they do have like a slight ridge on the inside so that the solid eye couldn't be like fit in and then sit. You know what I mean? Like to be affixed in there.
Cool.
But there are no inscriptions, nothing like that.
All right, good to know. I'm going to look opposite to me at this eastern stairwell. Is there any light emanating from it?
There is no light. However, now Avaricios, who was the only person that went to this side, was immediately teleported away. So Avaricios never got a good look at exactly what was going on down here. So when you peer down there, you're using your infravision at this point. So you see no heat signatures, but you can make out the definitions of what's beyond. So for the first 10 feet, which has already been drawn there, it is flat. But then right after that 10 feet, there is a staircase that goes upwards at least for 60 feet, which is the extent of your infravision. No heat signatures.
I will go ahead and... Sorry, Ted. Each square is 10?
Each square is 10, yeah.
You can tell I've relied on Ted.
So you can draw an additional 60 feet, and all of that additional 60 feet is staircase leading upwards.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a big one. All right. And I'll just kind of do this.
Other way. That's a down one.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, there
Just
you go.
so it's not confusing to Ted if he wants to come clean it up.
And the stairs are basically free of debris. There are no indications of tracks, although once again, you're only using your your infravision at this point. Sure. Elizabeth with her lantern is still standing back.
Amazing.
What do you see, man?
Elizabeth, come over. It's safe. I've picked up. I don't think I said it out loud, but I'm going to pick up those solid eye from the ground after I pried them. I'm going to beckon. I'm going to beckon. I'm going to say, Yost, stand guard at the stairwell to the north, just in case. All right.
We'll do.
Lyda, he's a handsome man. You should stay with him. I think he has a fancy for you, and you know.
For a minute, you don't see Lyda, then you realize that she's actually like already clutching Yost like mighty thews on his leg behind him.
Yeah, of course, kind of hiding behind him. Like
you just see her head poke out. She's like, got it.
Yeah, and then I'll beckon Elizabeth over with her lantern.
Oh, gnarly.
Yeah. Just to peek real quick into the stairwell, anything of note when we look with light?
No. So it picks exactly that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can definitely confirm at this point, but that there are no distinguishable footprints. It's just clear of debris.
Okay, I'm going to try to keep this going on at a fast clip. The southeast corner or of the pillar.
Ooh.
Now that I'm standing sort of a bit over towards the stairwell, do I have a clear vantage of what it is?
You do, yeah. So you're looking at it from an angle. So this one's rather strange. You don't think you've seen anything like this before, although you have heard tales of creatures like this dwelling in Arden Vul. So this is a monstrous face with sharp cheekbones, a pronounced supraorbital bones, like a shelf brow, basically is what he's trying to say there. A thin, elongated nose, and kind of unnatural looking large eyes. The mouth is opened in a flattened oval. Okay, so a big O. Okay, the creature itself, the face that you're looking at, you don't think you've ever seen one, but it sure looks to be a really accurate depiction of what most of the adventurers and the people at the Broken Head and a lot of people that you've met have described as the trolls of Arden Vul. This looks like to be a troll. Okay, and to be clear, just for you as a player, don't think of the typical D&D troll. Okay, think of how I'm describing it here, because they're completely different creatures. Okay.
Gotcha. Amazing. That mouth, does it look, again, referencing the sockets I've seen so far? You said it's a flattened oval. Does it look like it's socketed? Does it look perfect in the way that everything else did?
It looks perfect, yeah. So it doesn't look like this has been defaced or ruined in any sort of way. And I actually misplaced it. It's not like a wide O like that. It's actually, the mouth is and this is, I made a mistake, so because it's important. The mouth is a flattened oval, as in it's open and wide. So like instead of like an O like this, it's more like an O like that.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a thin opening of the mouth, spread wide with its, yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, do I from here see any material differences that again look like the coins did, or the golden eyes, or anything that, like, aside from the mouth, might be an indication this is an activated pillar? That's what I'm basically trying to figure out.
So the eyes are already in place. They seem to be of a piece of the rest of the bas relief, unlike all the other faces that you've seen before. And the stonework, it does appear to be the same as everyone except for the bearded man.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and approach it closer and take a closer look then.
Okay, so you don't go anywhere. Everything seems to be fine, so you can get up close and no big deal.
Close inspection. I just want to spend a turn inspecting it, see if I see anything.
Okay, sure. So I should say, actually, I'm going to say Oculos's empathy cost a turn, and then doing the lady did a turn, and then inspecting this face. So now we're at 10 a.m.
Cool.
Okay, 6 turns have elapsed. And being very, very careful to look at every single aspect of it. The only thing you can see, the only thing that's sort of weird about it is the open mouth and the kind of weird, unnatural pose that the mouth is in. It sure looks like something should probably be placed of a specific size into that mouth.
Perfect. But no hinge or any indication that the mouth moves.
Yeah,
okay,
there's no indication of any sort of mechanism at all.
All right. I will table that for now. I want to do a similar sort of like walk to the middle of the room between the southeast wall and pillar so that I have a vantage on the southern side and make sure that there's no face on the southern side.
No, that's a point.
That's what I thought. So can I beckon again Elizabeth over to the south and let's look in that stairwell?
Yes, down south. Okay, so down south with your lantern light. So the lantern light illuminates 30 feet of staircase that goes directly downward, like directly from the archway. Okay. Mm-hmm. However, your infravision reveals more. 1, 2, 3, 4. So your infravision can depict that the staircase ends after 40 feet. At the 40-foot mark, it ends, flattens out, and heads in the just slightly southwestwards, like just off target from a direct southern route. I should say it's not flat. The staircase ends, but it turns into what appears to be a natural cavern that generally slopes downwards, but slopes instead of a staircase slightly towards the southwest.
Okay, slopes generally to the southwest, which would be like this.
But like it's almost to southwest, like it's just off of direct south. You know what I mean? Like a 10 degree. There you go. Yeah.
And it continues. Sorry if I missed it. It continues as an equivalent width to the stairwell.
Yeah, equivalent width, sloping downwards generally, but it's not a staircase. It became natural, like the stone is rough there. It doesn't ping any heat signatures, but it is rather strange that it and the staircase ends in the natural corridor.
It's great to know. I don't see any clearing of the blue dust or obvious like clearing from foot traffic down there. Does it undisturbed? In other words,
it
as far as I can tell.
It's not dusty, let's put it that way, but it's not fully clear of debris. Like some of the blue tile debris has like scattered into this staircase as if no one's been here for some time. But it's not dusty, which might tell you something as well. I should also be clear, because this is kind of an interesting thing. At the base of the staircase, at the limits of your infravision there, The walls appear to be rough stone, which gives you the impression that it's natural. However, the floor that slopes down still appears to be Arcantian flagstone.
Hmm. Floor still flagstone. Okay, that's great to know.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, cool. I'm going to continue this similar process, and this time I'm going to look upon the southwest face.
Southwest face. We'll roll this into the same turn because you just basically peered down that corridor, so it didn't take that long. The southwest face. So this is the last face on the pillar. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
However, here, it's obvious that a face was here, but it's been almost entirely obliterated. But because of what remains, you can basically surmise what it used to be. The only thing that remains out of what appears to be just bodily ripped off, like it's just a huge chunk of taken out of the pillar, like where that face used to be. The only thing that remains are two square-like ears at the top of where this destruction occurred. And those square-like ears can only be one thing, and that is a set animal, a sort of dog-like, jackal-like sort of creature. Actually, for those at home, I can show you what exactly we're talking about here. This was actually a real thing in the real world, as a symbol of Set, is right here. So, David, I don't know if you can see, but if you zoom all the way out where all the pictures are, there is a picture of a Set animal, and these square-like ears are the only thing that remain. So, yeah, and that's all that appears to be there now. So it's just like a ripped off chunk of stone, basically. Oh, you're muted, David. Sorry.
Oh, quite all right. Sorry. As with the hole in the goblin, I just want to confirm from that like ripped out crevice, there isn't like a compartment or a space that hits a flush wall at any point. Okay.
Yeah. So you know what I mean? So it's like there's the clean facet of the pillar, but then there's like this huge divot of rough stone where it was just like banged out, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. And it's obviously like the ears were just sort of left behind as an afterthought, you know what I mean?
Fascinating. Okay. Love that. Back to the West. I want to essentially recreate what I did for our middle-aged Aquiline woman with the Thothian priest, which is to say, use the chisel, do one, squat against the floor for the second one, even though I'm pretty sure it's not a big deal. I'm going to just recreate it exactly as, and remove both of those silver Arcantian pennies.
So I'll call that like the major turn-eating activity. So all of that just occurred within a turn, and you can easily pry those silver pennies out. The silver pennies, once again, are very tiny. They're like dimes. Same exact sort of thing whenever you stand up to look at the priest, is that the holes they're small, so they look unnatural in the face because they're not like normal eye size, and they're perfectly round, and same sort of thing. As the normal one. The interesting thing to note is the fact that if you were kind of pegging it like, oh, this must be a Setite thing because they did a caricature of a Thothian priest, well, you also have the fact that a Set animal was violently removed from a pillar. So so you have a caricature of a Thothian priest, a handsome man that was defaced in Mithric, and then the total removal of a Set animal, right? So anything that's intact, and then the goblin itself, like the nose was ripped off, right? So you have the noble woman, and what else? Is that the only thing that is intact? Oh, the troll.
Troll.
Yeah.
Well, I thought the troll was damaged. No, it wasn't damaged. You're right. Okay.
Yeah. So the troll and the noble woman, so east and southeast, were completely untouched.
That's interesting. Okay, so let me just note that. So I have that on record. Wow. Well, interesting. I didn't quite expect this to be how this went so far, but it has.
Yeah. So you've been in the room. You've actually
it.
been in this room, just slowly circling around for over an hour now, right? It's like carefully and quietly doing your thing. And Elizabeth looks a little bit bored. Yost looks like really intent and he's sort of watching you. And Lyda's just distracted as always. What do you think? Where should we go?
Well, my friend, I'm going to check one more stairwell before making a decision, if you don't mind.
We're our friends. We don't know where they went.
I think they...
Listen, if we put back in the eyes, I bet if we did put back in the eyes, we would go wherever they went. We could be with them again. I want to be with Mort.
I know you do, my dear friend. I know you do, but they may very well be dead, and before I can...
No, don't say that.
I would never wish that upon you, stranger, and your strange bedfellows. But what little time I've had with you has given me a fondness for your rosy cheeks and lack of clothes. And before you go too hastily into that long night, give me a moment.
Right.
Elizabeth, come here. And I want to look into the western stairwell.
Western, okay. I think they did peer through down this one, but okay. So, oh yeah, they did. So this one's kind of weird. So you see where Ted has that angle pointing northward. Mm-hmm. So what was strange about this was, okay, so let me give it to you straight here with Elizabeth here. 1, 2, 3. So after 40 feet, so there's staircase the entire way. Goes up for 40 feet. However, at that 40-foot mark, you can see that there is a massive cave-in, like huge blocks of natural stone that from floor to ceiling just block it all off. As far as you could tell, the staircase probably extended beyond that, but the cave-in has now blocked that passageway. However, at the mark, it's at 40 feet beyond. So you need to do one more block worth of staircase.
I see.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Also, don't forget my my dark or my infra in case that gives me more.
Yep. Yeah, but it's the cave-in basically is the end of that, right? So, however, where Ted has that marking there is an actual passageway, not a staircase, that actually leads directly off from that ascending staircase, not from a landing point, which is what I remember Ted asking. Right? The staircase is just a smooth, step by step, but at that point, it just sort of juts off to the north there.
And is it just a 10-foot wide corridor that I can tell? How wide is that jut?
It looks to be 10 foot, yeah. Although obviously you can't see around the corner.
Okay, so vaguely something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely, interesting. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, gang.
Yeah. So Ted marked it down here. So you got staircases on all 4 of the cardinal directions, right? But all of them are going up except for the southern one. I'm sorry.
Which would
no, I'm wrong. I just got confused by Ted's markings there. So the northern and the southern one go down. The eastern and the western ones go up.
Okay, yeah, something happened there. I'll move his up over this way and just dupe it.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, or I won't. Never mind. I'll just write it. Up. I'm gonna down. Sorry, Ted.
Yep.
Defacing your work. Up, down, up. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And Lyda, can I bring Lyda over to the stairwell that she seems to remember coming from, and just see if looking closer inspires any more thought on her process, or any more thought from her?
Yeah. So she kind of peers and she's like, yes, that's where I came. And then she's like, and she kind of freaks out a little bit when she's kind of looking down there, and she kind of grabs your leg, and then she scuttles away and she hides behind Yost's much thicker leg. She's like, I don't like it. I don't like it. It was bad. It was bad down there.
There's something ugly up there.
Yeah, bad people.
Were they wearing red?
No, not red. No. I don't remember. They hurt some of us. I remember being hurt. We ran into here. I remember running into this room. We ran.
Okay. Okay. Lyda's party.
She seems to be a little bit overcome at this point. Like, you're pretty sure you're not going to be able to get much out of her.
Sure. Yes. That's good to know. Thank you so much. You're so brave. You're so brave.
She's like whimpering now.
Yeah. Here, let's put there. Okay. Wow. All right. So I think that at this point, all my original planning has been sated in that I wanted to try to not be teleported by accident. And now I got a decision to make on what to do next. So here's the thing.
So to be clear, you can still teleport because you know how to do it, right?
Yeah. I know how I do it. Yes. And I have control of this now. I don't know whether I can return. Now, granted, this is Omnior knowledge, not Ren knowledge, but we know from the very tempered and planned and like not at all reactive fire pit teleportation that like not all doors go both ways. So I'm not as super confident as Ren, frankly, that without knowing where they went, I want to follow. I do feel less of the two, and we discussed this a little bit on Discord, although I think the reasoning behind it originally was not entirely correct, because I thought, I thought the noblewoman was more likely to be Arcantian, and therefore if it took me somewhere it would be more local, and the others weren't. Now we know they're all Arcantian, but we still know that the only ones that weren't defaced were the noblewoman and the troll, and that, to me, through whatever folk wisdom you want to apply, tells me less dangerous of the two. So though I'm not saying this to Yost yet, I don't particularly have any desire, nor will I pursue the Thothian route. If I go into one, I'll go the way of the woman. But go ahead. Sorry.
To be clear too, the troll is not Arcantian. All right, the troll is a troll, right? You do know too, like you've heard talk of creatures like this being in Arden Vul, but they are not like they're not like goblins or halflings that are like citizens of the Empire, right? Like trolls are known to only be in Arden Vul, like not even in the surrounding area, but like only here.
Yeah. So if this were the case, that it would most likely teleport me to where the Troll King is, who we heard cackling at the bottom of the chasm. And in fact, though, I mean, I could just speculate forever, right? But let's say theoretically, we know that the troll was at some distance down the chasm. Spatially, we know down equals troll. We also know that the southern stairwell heads into a natural cavern eventually. And I would wonder aloud, without any conclusion to be made right now, whether the orientation of these bas-reliefs not only relates to the destination of the portal, but also like the cardinal direction of where that destination leads. Who knows? But it'd be an interesting idea. So if the trolls are down to the south, the troll face being on the southeast might make some sense, especially since the cavern slightly turns southeast now. Who knows?
Yeah,
but you'd have to. Anyway, I don't need to speculate forever online or on camera here with you guys. What I will say is, I don't think Ren would immediately be inclined to jump into a teleport, frankly.
Sure.
But he also the known danger is where I came, right down to the north. I don't think I would return that way yet. So I want to choose one of the three other stairwells to explore. Okay. I wouldn't choose the southern because it's going down. So I'd either choose the western or the eastern. I was going to go east. The main concern I have is that Lyda is terrified of it. So
she's not saying she won't go. She just has like a really bad feeling about the place.
So it won't be a total impasse. That's good to know. Before I do that, what I'd like to do, John, is to go to the Western Passage and peek my head around the corner of that northern egress.
You go up a little bit up the stairs and peek around the corner. So strangely enough, right when you look around the corner, it is shorn off like there's literally even less. There's about 8 feet worth of passageway going that direction, and then it's just natural stone across the northern face, like really rough natural stone. It's almost like there was work being done to expand, but then that work just got halted all of a sudden, and whatever the masons were asked to pull back or something like that, right? Like it's not a cave in, like the
Yes.
Western way. It's just natural rock that has been untouched.
Well, I'm immediately suspicious of this for what it's worth. Can I do a very close inspection of that stone and see if I find any pressable stones or any sort of like
Sure,
triggers? Basically,
it'll take a turn.
Spin a
Okay.
turn. Yeah.
Okay. You can conclude after a thorough search that there it appears to be exactly what it is. Natural stone.
Okay, that's good to know. So, and looking at the cave in to the west, I'm not going to do a close inspection, but there's no way I'm getting through that, right? It's just very clearly like at first blush, yeah.
Yeah, it's not insurmountable, but it's a question of time and equipment.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to go to the south. I'm going to ask another question in the south before I bail on it.
Mm-hmm.
You'll recall, I love to use my character's sense of smell.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to listen very carefully. I'm going to wave at everyone to be incredibly quiet.
Okay.
Okay. And in fact, maybe I'll even have Elizabeth like cover her lantern so there's no natural light. So we're in the dark. We have no sound. And I want to look down to the south, and I want to see as best I can if there's the faintest glow of any external light, 2, the sound of water running, a low roar, the sound of fire crackling, any sort of environmental sound like that, and 3, sort of tongue to finger, feel if there's any air current.
Air current. Okay. Good to know. Now but you're still standing in the circular chamber. You're not moving onto the staircase. Is that correct?
I mean, I'll go. You know what? Why not? I'm going to regret this when I get the trap blows in my face. I'm going to walk to the base. I'm not going to quite go. Yeah, I'm going to walk to where it turns a natural cavern, and I'm going to kind of like do this and look around the corner.
Okay. All right.
So I guess I will map what's further down there too. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So you can confirm what I said. So it's like natural flagstone, but with cavern walls there. And you stop right there, and you just pay attention is what you're doing. You're just standing there like real quiet. Like Elizabeth's not with you, right? Just infravision, right?
No, it's just me. Yeah. It's just me down there with infravision. Yeah.
Okay. So let me see if I can give you a decent description here. Let me just take a look because you're using only heat vision. Okay. All right. First of all, the dimensions of the room. So after that little jut southwest there, it expands into a roughly oval chamber heading generally southwest at that same angle. And the length of the chamber is roughly about 10, 20, 30, about 40 feet. And at its widest, it's about 20 feet.
Okay, so kind of.
Yeah, not bad. Now, directly to your left, however, there is another winding passageway that goes almost directly east. It's natural.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So cool. Like right here-ish, if you see my finger.
It's going to delete both. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. So directly, it is natural or not natural? Sorry.
It is natural. Everything here is natural.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then so there's like this, that's pretty good. And then it looks, let's see where you're at, 1, 2. Yeah. So you can actually see in the very southwestern corner, it actually continues narrow, approximately about 5 feet wide, narrow natural passageway that leads out of the room to the southwest.
Okay. So I'll erase that little corner. Same thing like this. It's extra narrow though. It's 5 feet.
Yeah, it's like 5 feet. Yeah, that's pretty good. Actually, you may not have actually been able to see that because dominating the sort of the southern end of the room, sort of in the middle, is a large boulder, like a strange shaped looking, not strange. It's just not perfectly round. It's like a rock formation that's in the middle, And let's see, that's roughly around like 10-footish, generally like in the southern area.
Kind of about right here.
Yep, you got it. That's pretty good. Yep. I just have to parse what your infravision would see versus what light would see. You know what I mean? So give me a sec.
No worries. I'm going to redraft some of my notes while you're at it.
Okay, so the other thing you can see is that there are 2 ledges. One to the west across from the boulder that is about 20 feet high. That's about a 10-foot wide ledge. And there's another one that's across from the boulder to the southeast, which is much more narrow, but not quite as high. It's only about 5 feet wide, but it's about 15 feet high.
So one to the west. Say it again, sorry.
Yep, you got that one right. Yeah, about 10 feet wide. That's 20 feet high.
Oh, okay.
It's 10 feet wide, right? Like the ledge itself is about 10 feet wide.
Yeah.
It's 20 feet up, though. Yep. And then there's one to like the southeast across from the boulder.
Yeah.
And that one's only about 5 feet wide, but it's 15 feet high. Okay. Now, yeah, so you're just kind of seeing that sort of differential in temperature. When you listen, okay, first of all, you can't determine any movement in the air. That's indicative of anything.
Okay.
You don't feel any difference in humidity or anything like that. But when you're really, really quiet and you're listening very, very carefully, you think you can hear rummaging and vaguely rodent-like squealing, but, like not squealing, chittering, I guess more like it, coming from the western ledge up high.
Okay. So, vaguely rodent chittering.
Yeah.
Chittering. Get my chicken scratch for everyone to see. There we go. Love to see it.
There are also 3 pieces of stone in the center of the room that are projecting out of the floor about 2 to 4 feet out of the rocky debris on the cavern floor, and they appear to be carved. They are not natural, unlike the boulder, but you're unable to kind of, once again, you're just kind of getting the vague, shadowy outlines of them in your sight.
Okay, 3 pieces. I'm sorry to keep making you repeat yourself. 3 pieces of stone.
They're coming out of the floor. They vary from like 2 to 4 feet out from the floor, but they have like hard angles, which kind of gives it away that they've been created rather than natural.
Sure.
And they appear to be
They're in front of the boulder.
Yeah, they're not in a line. They're just sort of like randomly sort of jutting out. But yeah, they're immediately within your vision there.
Okay. Fascinating. All right, cool. And nothing else that's very obvious out the gate that I see.
Once again, you're just getting the very barest outlines with your infravision.
Of course.
And no heat signatures pinging.
Oh man, the temptation is always so high, Jon. Can I peek my head around the corner of the eastern 10-foot hallway? And just to confirm again, all of the floors here are worked stone, right?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of rocky debris on the ground in this chamber specifically. Mm-hmm. Okay. Like a lot of rock on the ground. Okay. So I'm going to say that unless you bring in natural light, it's going to be very difficult to tell if it's natural floor or if it continues to be flagstone.
Okay.
Now the eastern corridor, when you kind of turn around, you should be aware that it's actually pretty narrow. It's only about 5 feet wide, not 10 feet wide. And it's definitely natural. It also slopes upward at a around the same grade that the passageway that you're in currently, or that you came down, is as well. And it generally heads at a easterly and then slowly kind of heads northeasterly after about 10 feet. and let's see, 10, 20, for about, so there's sort of like snaky natural corridor for about 30 feet, heading vaguely northeast, but mostly east, before it seems to open up into a much larger chamber. But you can't really tell because you haven't actually entered the corridor.
Is that too aggressive a curve?
That's about right. That's about right.
Okay. And then it opens to something.
Yeah. Now, from there, you don't even have to take the time. You can definitely feel that there is moisture in the air coming from down that corridor. Okay. It's pretty clear. And you can actually hear whenever because you're still very quiet, you just sort of peered around to your left and you listened, right? You can hear like just a slow like dink, dink, dink of like water dripping.
Love it. Okay. I'm gonna. I suppose I'll continue this incredibly hazardous solo journey, and I'm going to pursue the dinking, the dinking, as quiet as I can because I'm not quite ready to bring like the loud noises and light into this room, given the chittering I heard at the 20-foot spot. So I just want to very like quietly approach up that corridor towards the opening and see what I see.
Okay, cool. Give me 1 second. I need to check something. You don't have to worry about it. Just give me 1 second.
Sick. Love that. All right, cool.
Don't you worry. Gotta check, a chart or two.
Yeah. Love that. Just remember, I know how to teleport. If I need to escape, I'm running.
1 turn passes. Don't you worry. Just kind of doing a thing here.
With that in mind, Jon,
I don't know what you're talking about. But.
As my spidey senses kind of tingle a little bit, can I actually have in the palm of my left hand, we'll say, the 2 gold solidi that went to the noblewoman, so that if I need to just like hit an escape, I can try to engage that or trap someone in it. Okay, cool, thanks.
Okay, so in one hand you have the gold solidi. What do you have in your other hand?
In my other hand, I guess Oculus
you can shoulder Oculus with one hand. That's how you would normally carry a 2-handed sword anyways, right? We're not doing like the whole back scabbard thing, right? Like,
well, here's the thing, I'm an elf.
Yeah,
I can use Isocritus' wand now. Yes, I believe so.
Yes,
I'm going to have Isocritus' wand in the other hand.
Okay, yeah, all right, back in action with that bad boy. Nice.
that's what I'm going to do. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, no prescription against using offensive spells when you're an elf, so that's great. Okay, so the wand and the coins, got it. All right, so you slowly wend your way. Are you bringing everybody with you, or just you?
No, they're staying above.
Oh, you're staying above. Okay.
Just me moving as quietly as possible. Yeah.
Are they still in the pillar room?
They're in the pillar room. Yes.
Okay.
I can go back up and tell them I'll be back in a minute. If that's, why don't I do that? I suppose before I go too deep into this passage.
It'll take a turn. Yeah. If you want to go back up and just tell them, because you do kind of like they might get worried, like because you're being very, very quiet.
I think that's worth doing. So before I not to redact too much, before I go into this tunnel, I want to turn back up because I'm just right at that corner. Yeah. Turn back up the stairs. I'm going to go to the top and I'm going to say in like a slightly quieted voice, I'm going to say, hey, there's a natural cavern down there. I don't know what might be down there. I heard some mild chittering that might be rodents, but it was a ways away. But I'm going to be very quiet and use my infravision to look around the corner. If you hear me scream,
come get me.
Come. Also, in that regard, Yost, can I have Yost kind of positioned at the top of the stairs, of the southern stairs?
Yes. We will keep watch.
And Elizabeth as well, right?
You are brave, very brave for someone so skinny.
Yes, my lack of experience gives me great courage. Cool.
Okay. No problem. We will watch here. Be careful. All right. So you go back down. So that took a turn just to relay the info. All right. So now you're heading back down that northeastern corridor. All right. So you head down there, and at the point where where you marked there, it does open up into a large, definitely natural, sort of rectangular. Right? Once again, it's natural. So when I say rectangular, do not draw like four sides. It's
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
but it's vaguely rectangular, wider east to west than it is north to south. So north to south, it's relatively around 30 feet north to south. Relatively east to west, it's about 1, 2, 3, 4, about 50 feet. So 50 feet east to west, 30 feet north to south. You were coming in from the direct southwestern edge of it. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, does it kind of continue in the trajectory? Is it like a diagonal room? Or am I entering the corner of a roughly rectangular, like east to west room? Does that make sense?
Yeah, the latter. Okay.
Okay, so 50 long, 20 high, you said?
50 feet east to west, 30 feet north to south.
30. Okay.
About 30 feet in from the west, there is a narrow 5-foot wide natural passageway that exits to the north. And then immediately to your right, there is a very narrow, probably about 3-foot wide passageway that heads vaguely southeasterly. Yep, that's good.
And then immediately to...
Yep, you got it right there. It kind of heads, it's very narrow, and it heads kind of southeast.
Okay.
Maybe like a 30, yeah, that's a good angle, yep. Cool. That's good. Now, using, once again, your infravision. Oh, John, I closed the PDF because I'm a moron. All right. Where are you? Almost said the level number out loud, but I caught myself. 1 second.
No rush. I'm just going to do some cleanup here because I'm neurotic.
Single page view. Okay. We are there. Very good. What is that number? Got it. Sorry, reticulating splines, folks. It's a Megadungeon. There's a lot of stuff to look up. Okay. So, this cavern is damp and it's dripping. There are 2 pools of what appears to be liquid. You have no reason to believe it's anything but water, but you're not really sure. On either side of the cave. So in the northwestern section, there's about a 10-foot wide section that is liquid. And then basically the entire eastern side of the cave for about 10 feet is also liquid. And I'm talking about the like all the way up to the wall on both of those, David. So it's not like a pool. It's like literally like goes right.
So
I mean, it is a pool, but it abuts
like
the walls. Yeah.
And then kind of like this?
The entire eastern side, like the whole...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But 10 foot from it. Okay, that makes sense. Like this.
Yeah. Okay, so there is... Let's see. You can see that there is a... By the northern passageway, to the left of it in the rock wall, there is a spear that has been thrust into the stone itself. And on the end of that spear, there is a human skull that rests on it.
Okay, northwest against the wall.
No. Just west of the northern passageway that exits out of the room, there's a spear that's been thrust into the wall at like normal height. And on the end, the butt end of that spear, there is a skull that's sort of hanging off of it. Okay, and there's something small and multiple that has been rammed into that skull itself, but you can't tell because once again, you're only using your infravision. All right. And that's all you can tell from with infravision. Nothing is pinging.
All right. There's our little impaled skull.
Yeah.
All right.
You can hear dripping, and every once in a while, like there's ripples in the water when it appears to be dripping from stalactites above.
Okay. All right. Wow. And opposite to that spear, I see nothing on the southern wall that would indicate perhaps a trap. Right, like worked stone. I guess I wouldn't see it because of the infiltration. I can't tell what's worked and what
You
isn't.
wouldn't be able to tell, yeah. And to be clear too, I think you kind of picture it right, but the spear is like parallel to the ground. You understand? It's like someone like had it at and then thrust it directly into the stone, and then let go, and so that there's this bar that's basically at like waist level, and then at the end of that bar, like kind of hanging out over the floor, is this skull. But there's like numerous things that have been put into the skull that you can't quite make out, but it's you can tell because of the weird shape in your infravision that it's not like a normal human skull.
Amazing, love that. I suppose. Oh man, with that, I will turn back around and head up to my companions and say, "Hey, I found something neat."
What are you moving at these days? 90.
I am a full 120 because I am a light packed boy, and I have high
120
strength.
is so that's 12. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we'll call it a turn to get back, even though it's not quite a turn, but yeah.
I'm going to basically convey what I saw and say I found natural chamber with some water, some strange skull, and further passages.
Wait, you just glossed over that whole skull thing.
well, yes, I suggest that the lot of us go down and take a look at it. What do you say?
Well, I'm game. I feel nothing.
All right. I suspect safety is, and I point in the direction to the east. But prior to doing that, I am going to check out this cavern because I still think the waterfall has an exit.
Lyda is all about it. She's like, yes, south, no to east.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And
okay, so let's go ahead.
Elizabeth still with lantern.
Elizabeth still with lantern. I'm going to ask Elizabeth when we get to the base of the stairwell to stow the lantern. I can't remember if Elizabeth has a hooded lantern or not. I know we had one at some point.
I don't think there's a differentiation. I think we've just always said like it can be hooded if you want it to be. Yeah.
Let's have her hood it, and she can put her. They can like put their hands on my shoulder, make a line or whatever. I'm just going to say like because of the chittering, I don't want to cast any light into this chamber, and I would rather wait till we get to this other one. But it's a short distance. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. All right.
I'm gonna do so.
All right, and you're attempting to be as quiet as possible.
Yes, incredibly quiet. Yes.
Okay, cool. So you slowly make your way down. Elizabeth has to tell Lyda to sort of, stop with the, she's making like little excited noises. She's like, shh. And then when you enter the eastern passageway, she opens up the hood. And it illuminates as you get to the edge, over your shoulder, Rin, the room proper, which is exactly as I described before. However, there is a couple of extra features that you can see. First of all, in the skull itself, it appears to have been jammed. It must have been like a deliberate, like not like tossed in, but like went up to the skull and put them in hard. Is a bunch of primitive looking darts. It gives like almost like a like Pinhead from Hellraiser sort of vibe, right? But not as like organized and refined as that, right? It's just sort of like, but it's like dotted with all these like very primitive looking darts. To be clear, like not sophisticated.
And the forehead.
In the forehead, in the teeth, like just all around, basically, right? Have been put in there, giving it a very sort of fearsome appearance, basically, on the edge of this spear. In addition, however, though, you see that the let me make sure I get this clear. There are clear signs of bare feet that everyone can notice. They're not. There's no attempt to have been to hide them. That lead towards the north past that spear. All right. The feet themselves are relatively human sized, perhaps a little bit larger, but they are clawed. All right.
Okay. So clawed. God, I'm going to do it to a smaller brush. Clawed bare feet, footprints. Okay. What I recognize is as goblin.
No, they appear to be larger than goblin. They appear to be slightly larger than human size, like a human male size. Sort of like a male, like size 14, maybe. Right?
Oh, larger. Oh, okay.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not like ogre size, you know what I mean? But just slightly larger than human.
Sure.
And except for the claw marks at the tips of the toes, you would actually easily mistake them to be just a large human's footprints. So it still has like the shape of like an evolved bipedal creature, right? Not like a bear is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I follow.
Yeah.
I follow. Yeah. All right. And nothing else in the room at first blush.
No.
The water, does it look like water?
It does.
Is there any like surface phenomena?
Not you can see there are constant ripples just from the slow drips on either pool, but it appears to be clear and still water. You can see with Elizabeth's lantern light, you can see the bottom of it, and it's very shallow, and you don't see anything of interest in there. But it does appear to be clear, fresh, cold water.
Likewise, above it on the ceiling, if I look for a source for these drips, it's just condensation. There's no like obvious cracks or anything. That's like correct, that, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, but the cavern itself is totally natural. Like it looks more natural in the way you actually drew it. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like there's no mistaking that this is just like a naturally occurring cavern. Yeah,
that's great to know. Yeah, thanks for the drawing criticism, John. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, just.
On that note, let me just fix it for you.
Just really pushing it at David's. What do you call it? Peccadillos.
Go, you son of a bitch. No, I'm kidding. No, but no, that's important information. Okay, so goodness, there's no current. I don't see it's just it's a shallow puddle. There's no direction in or out that I see.
Yeah. What would you from what you can gather in this, like now it's like basically all the way lit with a lantern light, is that there are natural stone depressions where the water is.
Sure.
And the condensation just seems to have collected on the stalactites and just slowly over the ages has basically filled those depressions with water, right? So it doesn't seem to be any mystery to why the water's there. You know what I mean?
It's good to know.
Yeah.
Can I, before looking into the clawed passageway, can we look into the south westerly passage and see?
Yes. Now the southern passageway is narrow, very narrow. It's rocky and it's twisty. Okay. But the first thing you notice right beyond the passageway, there are obvious and fresh blood stains that dot that passageway. Okay. They are bright red and wet.
Wow. Okay.
And they appear to be a combination of like spatter and dragged blood. So there's like a smear that kind of breaks every once in a while, but a general smear that kind of glides along the path, and then there's also some spatter along the edge of the walls and stuff like that. Something bad happened here.
Okay.
Oh, and the passageway goes slightly upwards. There's a slope that basically goes upwards. And it goes for, now that you're kind of looking in with Lisbeth, let's see, goes 1 to about 25 feet in that general vector right there. And then you can see that it ends in a ledge out into a wider space.
Okay, so something like that.
Yep, you got it.
The blood, the spatter appears to originate right at the face of this entrance. In other words, it doesn't come from the room. It's as if this person was struck right there and then dragged from that point. Possibly,
yeah. Although it doesn't, it's hard to. There's not like a huge pool like right there, like where like the most of the violence occurred or something like that. But yeah, the smears sort of start right there at that passageway.
Interesting. Can I just pick up a stone real quick and kind of like toss it into the hallway and see if it triggers anything trap wise?
You're trying to hit the hallway, or you're trying to get over the ledge?
No, just through the hallway. I just want to make sure there isn't an Indiana Jones trap waiting to smash my head in.
No, the rock just sort of skitters along the ground.
Okay. I'm going to ask them again to stow the light, and I'm going to, with infravision, very, very quietly and slowly, approach the ledge until I can see something. I'm not, in other words, I don't necessarily want to go to the lip of the ledge and reveal myself. I want to like kind of be peeking as I go. Does that make sense? So if there's
Sure.
any way for me to see, you know,
Are you going to get down on all fours and like?
why not? Why not?
That sort of thing.
Why don't I crawl just so I'm not like a big silhouette and crawl towards the edge of it and look? That's cool. A great idea.
All right.
Thanks
so
for the help.
So yeah, you peer over the lip sort of, and you can tell that you are about 30 feet above the floor of another large chamber. Now, let me just get my bearings on this one real quick. So, okay. Give me a second here.
No worries. Take your time.
All right. So this is a very strangely shaped room. But I'm going to, so it's now you're only using your dark vision, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you appear to be. This is probably the oddest shape room that we come in because it's weird because it appears to be like a fusion of actual constructed stonework along with natural stonework, which makes it rather odd.
Okay.
Okay. So in general, we're talking about an oblong shaped chamber that is approximately 40 feet north to south by about 40 feet east to west. You're coming in from the northwest, sort of in the middle of that. Don't worry about egresses for the moment. I don't even worry about doing. I would just sort of roughly outline like a 40 foot by 40 foot sort of section.
I'm coming from that northwestern corner.
Yeah, and you're just going to have to refine it as we kind of go.
Fine. Yeah. I'm just going to do this to start. Is that a good starting point?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. Once again, I got to kind of check to see what your dark vision would actually show. Okay, so you can, with your dark vision, with your infravision, you can basically make out that, and I'm talking very, very roughly here.
Sure.
There are finished sections, like things that are definitely Arcantian, that you can glimpse to the west, the north, and the south, where there are smooth walls and floors that show that there was once like a purpose to like this room. Okay.
Okay.
When you look directly to your left, along the northern section of the room, not only is it finished, but you can see that there is a mosaic, a large mosaic that takes up most of the northern wall. But you can't really tell what it is, but you can just tell that there is some sort of intricate stonework going on there. The central portion of the chamber, however, looks like it was the product of some sort of like geological activity of some sort. Like the central portion appears to be like natural caverns. So the result is the floor itself is rocky, covered with debris. The entire area has that level of humidity that the place that you came from also had. And there are dozens of stalactites and stalagmites that have formed in the central area. And in the northern portion of the room, there is a light purple fungus that appears to be common in the area, but it's not bioluminescent. It's just sort of, in fact, you probably wouldn't even be able to tell the color of it, of course. Let's see. Yeah, and there are 4 particularly large stalagmites coming out of the ground, basically at the edges of where you sort of drew them here, roughly. There's a bunch of stalagmites and stalactites hanging from the ceiling as well, but there are particularly like large, almost like pillar-like stalagmites that dominate the room and sort of block a lot of the vision in the center of the room.
Are they in the cardinal directions like I did, or are they
no,
just
not that's what I'm trying to say. It's not cardinal. It doesn't seem to be any sort of purpose to it. It's just that they are definitely like landmarks within the center of the room. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Okay. Where is it here? All right. Now, when you look directly, so you're peering like across the room and you kind of see that, right? But then when you peer directly downwards, you sort of jerk back because right at the foot of that ledge, 30 feet down, which is pretty high distance, right? All the way down. You can see that basically dumped in a pile right at the base of the cliff appear to be 3 corpses.
Yowza!
And they appear to be fresh. And they also appear to have been partially devoured. They are in pieces and ripped.
3 partially. I chose a really safe direction to take. All right, love this. Very cool room. Like and subscribe, etc., etc. All right. So we have 3 fresh corpses below me that look humanoid, I assume. Yes.
Yeah.
And are the source of the blood, I'm guessing. The trail follows to those.
It sure seems like it. Yeah. Like you're basically like lying flat in like a smear of blood right now.
I know there are large stalagmites/stalactites at the center of the room, particularly on the floor. There's that rough-hewn center, but on the west, the north, and the south wall, I should mark them real quick with yellow as well, just for my own. There's some indication of like worked stone.
Yes.
And on the north wall, there's a mosaic, correct?
Yes.
That I can't see, but I'm aware of.
That's correct, yeah. So there are 3...
Do I have sight of... Sorry, go ahead.
There are 3 egresses from the room. There's the one that you're coming from. Then there are narrow passageways, each about 5 feet wide, that appear to be natural. So the interesting thing is like the west, the north, and the south all have once been Arcantian, right? But all of the egresses appear to be natural and narrow. So on the eastern wall towards the northern end, there is a 5-foot wide passageway leading directly east. It's natural. And then on the southwestern section of the wall, southwestern section of the cavern, beyond all of the stalagmites, there is another natural passageway that leads almost directly west, but just slightly about 10 degrees southwest. And you can see from the height that you're at right now that passageway appears to slope downwards slightly. And then in addition, heading directly west at the part where it was definitely Arcantian, there is a 10-foot wide passageway of Arcantian corridor that heads to the west.
At the center of the room?
Yeah.
Okay, let me move some of my very messy notes, but that's good to know. Hold
Yeah,
on.
you got the basic layout, yeah, enough to work with at least.
Yeah, no, that's all I need to know. And then yeah, sure. Thereabouts. I'm obviously off grid at this point, but
okay, so it's 30 feet up, so there's no possible way for you to descend without help.
Sure.
Right. Well, not possible. You could always just attempt to do the handhold, but you're not a thief, so you basically have a 1 in 6 chance of being able to freeball it. But I would say at this point, since we're almost at quitting time, that you could certainly search this room, but that would be the last thing you do. But what we need to know for going forward is what is your plan to continue sort of just kind of progressing forward through here, or do you want to backtrack and try somewhere else for next time?
I think what I will likely do, barring one question I had about this room, which is like looking at the ceiling and seeing if there's anything up on it.
It's basically like you're just riddled with differing stalactites.
No spider webs that I see though, or anything like that.
No spider webs. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I would continue. I plan to continue in this room particularly. I would like to go and explore the clawed footprints to the north. And so if we want to put that on hold and do that next time, we can do that. If we want to do a quick one now because you think it's possible, I'm happy to do that. But what I would basically do is I'm going to explore the immediate vicinity of either of them and then make a conclusion on whether I continue or go up the way Lyda came. up the eastern stairwells from the blue room. Does that make sense?
Okay, so basically, like, if you don't see anything that immediately draws you forward here, you're going to head eastwards out of the pillar room.
I'm probably going to head back up and go eastwards out of the pillar room. Yes.
Okay, so let's just continue on for just
vaguely.
Like 15 more minutes. Is that cool?
Sure. That's fine by me. That's good with you.
You said you had a question about this room first, though?
That was it. Okay. The ceiling.
Just the ceiling. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna say it took a turn. Don't mind me. Okay. So now it's 11 a.m. and then you're going to backtrack, back up that corridor into the pool room, and head north through that passageway. Okay. So that passageway goes north, but it heads in about 10 degrees northeast from true north. Okay.
Okay.
It widens almost immediately to be a roughly about 10 feet wide, but it's still natural. And it slopes generally downward.
Okay, so it goes about 10 northeast, and then it opens to 10 foot wide.
Yeah. Now here, though, it appears that the stone gives way to a combination of like earth and rock. So the wall is rock, but the ground kind of morphs into like more like a compact earth a little bit.
Okay. Which direction, is the 10 foot wide segment going? Continuing northeast?
Continuing in that vector about 10 degrees to the northeast, yeah. Okay. But it's sloping downward.
Okay.
Slightly. Okay. What should lead you to a conclusion about how you've drawn the map so far, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, I was wrong. So it's rocky. Okay, but so when you enter the corridor, thick earth, you're definitely leaving footprints, slight impressions on this compact earth. The walls themselves, even though they're stone, it looks like they've been coated deliberately with mud. So they're caked with mud. The whole tunnel is basically been caked with mud. And everything is basically damp and slippery in here. Right? So it's very, very moist, slippery. And you're definitely getting like a tunnel sort of feel to, like a cloaca almost sort of feel to it. You know what I mean? As you're kind of moving through, it's vaguely unpleasant, kind of cold, but damp. And you kind of have to watch your footing as you're going forward. You hear Lyda sort of whimpering behind you. Yost's eyes are wide as he's sort of looking around. Now, ahead of you, let's see. After about 20 feet of that passageway, as you're kind of heading vaguely north, actually, you could probably see it before you even entered the tunnel. You see that there is a, let's see. Yeah, so you can see as you're moving carefully that the floor itself isn't level, right? It's natural, but there appears to be slight mounding happening, not at regular intervals, but just sort of like it's just it's slippery. You got to be careful. But then, like a little bit ahead, about 20 feet, you see that the floor sort of raises just a little bit, like almost like a little speed bump, right before it lowers again, and then it kind of continues on, and you can kind of see another one.
Okay, I don't want to go too far and start sliding down this like a water park.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Fascinating. Cool. I think I will probably just stop then and not continue. I'm a little worried. I mean, I'll say this: like, how when we're talking about slick, I'll do this. Here's what I'll do, because why not? We got a couple minutes. I have a rope. I'm going to ask Jost to tie. I'm going to tie one end to me. I'm going to ask Jost and Lisbeth and Leda to stand up towards the entrance to the chamber where it's dry and they've got footing. And I'm going to slowly proceed down the hall towards the first hump.
Yeah, the slope is super gradual. So even if you slipped and lost your footing, you would just land on your butt.
Okay, right. That's my misunderstanding. Okay,
well, it's not like a super grade. It's more like you see my hand.
Yeah,
right. Here's flat. It's not like this. It's more like this.
Okay. Okay. So it's not immediately dangerous. Okay. Well, here's what I'll do. I'll keep the rope thing because why not?
Yeah.
But I will Lisbeth or Yost have? I think Lisbeth has like a sling or something, right?
Rope tying took a turn.
No problem. While we're doing that, can I get Lisbeth to hurl with their sling a rock at one of these mounds and see if it responds in an interesting way from a distance?
Yeah, with her sling. Okay, yeah. So she wings it and it hits one of the mounds. It plunks into like the mud on the ground, but there is a sound. You almost hear like a strangely enough like a snapping, like a wood snapping. That's like a little like a twig snapping is almost what you hear, which does not match up with what you're seeing on the ground in front of you. What?
This is I love it, and the thing is, this is like a rabbit hole I could go deeply in. I will do one thing before proceeding out of curiosity, because I think we're going to run out of time. But I have to check inventories. Man, what I wouldn't do for that bag.
What are you looking for?
I need like a shovel or a spade, or something that I could essentially like try to discern a below mud depth is what I'm trying to figure out. Like, is there something, you know what I mean? Like, I'm being very, this is maybe a very strange conclusion to draw from all of this, gang, but whatever.
Elizabeth has spikes.
Yeah, spikes, and I have, let's see, just to confirm.
Or the edge of a shield, maybe.
I was thinking maybe a shield. Yeah. What if can I grab Elizabeth's shield and kind of dig into the mud a bit and see
at the edge of the mound?
I don't want to be on the mound.
And when I say mound, it's like barely any. I mean, it's just like a slight raise in the floor. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Here's what I'll do before that. I'm going to go to the edge of the mound. Okay. I'm going to take Isocrisis' staff, and I'm going to slowly push it into the mound and see if it keeps going.
Okay, so it goes in for like maybe just like an inch or so through the mud, like it squelches into the mud, similar to like how Elizabeth Slingstone did. And then you can hear it hit something that's solid under there, and you can hear like a slight, the same sort of sound, something snapping, just like something wooden breaking.
I hate this.
Only like an inch below the mud. You know what I mean?
No, I know.
But that wood snapping sound, like if you're judging by the distance that, like, you know, you're reaching forward and putting the staff down onto the mound, and so like, if what you're judging is correct, the wood snapping sound appears to be right at the level where your feet would be. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying is like that mound is only like an inch tall. That's why I said speed bump. You know what I mean? It's like barely.
Yeah, no, I know. I don't know why I'm getting really stuck on this mound.
I hope I'm describing it right. I don't know if I'm doing a good job.
No, I mean, or I'm just particularly dense because it's late. I'm just curious why there's wood. Okay. One last thing. I'm gonna stow the staff. I'm gonna bring Oculus back out. Sorry, old boy. Mm-hmm. And rather than poking down, I'm gonna try to like flush with the floor. I'm gonna try to like push the tip of Oculus in and like pry up as if to lift the stick thing that I'm hearing, if at all possible. In other words, I'm trying to like pull out of the mud whatever this other thing is. Does that make sense?
I understood. Yep, exactly. Okay, so when you try to lever it up, you can hear a bunch of feel like a bunch of what appears to be fragile wood break, and then almost the entire section of that quarter basically raises up without much of an effort on your part, using the leverage of the sword, and then the whole mechanism sort of splinters apart as if it was pretty shoddily made or deliberately shoddily made. As the mud sort of sloughs off, and you see that there is a 10-foot by 10-foot section of the natural quarter that has been covered with a very rough, very primitive looking lattice work of hard reeds. And then mud has been covered over that in order to camouflage it. So most of the reeds, having been pried up by the sword, basically fall apart. Like the lattice work it wasn't really tied that well, right? Mm-hmm. And they, a lot of them basically fall into what appears to be a pit in the middle of the corridor.
A pit trap, okay, yeah. Or something like it.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
And you hear them clatter below almost immediately. Like it doesn't.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Last but not least, can I shine a light down the pit and just see if I see anything down there?
Yeah, sure. So it's 20 feet down. So it is actually kind of a steep drop. And down there, you can see that there are sharpened wooden stakes in them.
Okay.
And they have all, not only are they sharp, like, what is it? Punji? What are the name of those sticks?
I know you
In
mean.
Vietnam?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only are they arranged like that, but all of the tips of them have been
Mhm.
smeared with filth.
Oof.
Yeah.
Don't want to get stuck by one of them.
There is no one in there, though. No one appears to have fallen victim to this yet.
And I don't see, just because, how could I not ask? I don't see any other tunnels or passages at the bottom of this pit trap,
You do
I?
not,
That
no.
might lead in
No.
a different direction. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, I think that's
So
probably a
similar.
good stop place.
One thing that you can determine before we quit for the night
Sure.
is the same level of construction of the pit, that same level of primitiveness and shoddy workmanship reminds you of the type of darts that have been put into the skull prior to entering the corridor.
Which I should probably have inspected, but I didn't further. But that's quite all right. That's amazing. That gives me a lot to go on. And
so knowing that, does that change your plan? Do you want to continue down this corridor, or do you still plan to head down the eastern stairway back at the pillar room?
I don't think I'm going to continue down that. I find it very interesting, but I don't think I'm going to continue down that corridor right now. I'm far more intrigued either by escape or just other stuff. So
Okay.
I think we can table that for now.
Okay, cool.
And I think that's that pretty much.
Okay, cool. So what we can do is we can say, first of all, when you're at that trap, you can basically continue to draw a rough stone 10-foot wide passageway that's going in that same vector for the following 60 feet, right? Like your vision would show that.
Okay. So I'll just say
1, 2, 3,
plus 60 because it's
and it goes obviously underneath the worked stairway.
Oh, that's true. I could just do this then. Why don't I do this? So hold on. I might be going too hard with my angle here. So
that's about right.
But so about 10, 20, 30. I have so many notes that I need to not have.
It's fine. Ted will clean it all up for us. So it's fine.
Yeah, I'll clean it. Yeah. So that's 10, 20, 30, around that length-ish.
Yes. That's about how far your infravision reaches. And right at the edge of your infravision there, you can see, so right at where you stopped drawing, there's another slight little mound. Over there. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Awesome. And then we'll call it one turn to return back to the pillar room. Okay.
Cool. Sounds good.
And then we can start fresh with you there. So just so you're aware, it is now 11:20 a.m. So you spent 2 hours and 20 minutes doing what you did today. All right. That's awesome. We have officially split the party 3 ways. 3 ways. What have we brought upon ourselves? We shall see. We had long discussions both amongst ourselves and with the community on our Discord server about should this be the case, would I be able to handle it? And the question is, I don't know, but I'm up for the challenge. We're going to see. I've run split parties before for short times in other campaigns, but never with old school and never with three ways. So and we got a lot of awesome feedback from everyone about whether or not we should do like one episode at a time. We focus on one team at a time, or if we should switch back with natural pacing within the episode. And I'm going to go with the latter. So I had lots of great arguments on either side, and I really appreciate them. They were well reasoned out, but I think just for my own style of playing, I'm going to feel better about switching off at natural points. The good thing for the players is that none of the players are ever going to be just being wallflowers and not participating. So we're going to have basically 3 teams: Team A, the A team, the B team, and the C team. David Rinn is going to be the primary of the C team. Okay, so you are officially C team. The other players will always be playing alternate characters whether they be retainers who are now going to be full-fledged PCs, at least for the time being, or bringing in new characters. But most of the time, it's going to be retainers. So for the C team here, next time we meet and we focus on C team, it will be David obviously playing Rin, but Ted will play Yost because Yost was Mort's retainer, and then Matt will play Elizabeth because Elizabeth was Avaricio's retainer. Lyda is not a playable NPC, and so Mike will be bringing in a new first level PC. That'll be the only brand new person on C team. And likewise, it'll the same sort of thing will happen with A team and B team, but we'll discuss that later. But just so everyone knows where that is how we're going to pick things up with episode 51. It is uncharted territory for all of us, I believe, with this sort of level of split party. And I just want to put it out there real quickly that it may be untenable. Like it might not be gameable. It might not be able to be handleable. This is already a very complex Megadungeon, and having to handle 3 different different exploratory areas is going to might be too taxing on me. We'll see how it works out, but I'm willing to give it a go.
No, I think it makes a lot of sense. I not much to add. I can just piggyback on what you're saying by saying, as we said at the beginning, I did not know what any of the consequences were for the rest of the party, and I'm going to go watch it now probably.
Yeah.
Right. That was very exciting for me, but one thing I did want to make sure of, because I was also avoiding reading our public Discord for spoilers amongst the group, was like, typically path of least resistance is like the smart way to go and keep it non-split. But because it was already a split scenario, it's a really interesting opportunity that we have here. And because, we trust each other and we trust y'all, it's not the end of the world if it doesn't work, right? Like, right. But why not try it? So that did definitely inform my what just happened. All right, like,
yeah.
I mean, beyond that, I also naturally, as my character and in general, found it interesting not to just follow suit. But that was definitely something I wanted to confirm prior. And these guys have been awesome sports, so it's a fun thing. It
should be fun, yeah. And to reiterate too, David has, we can promise you, has no idea what happened to the rest of the party. He's about to find out.
I hope I hope I didn't really fuck myself over.
You'll find out. I can't wait. But that's been the whole fun part of this, is that David literally played this whole session with only the knowledge that Rin actually would have had. So he's not using meta knowledge at all. So I think it's really, really cool because you came about the decisions that you did naturally without any influence from the knowledge that you wouldn't have had in the first place. So
and frankly, like, not to detox in the session, but the one thing I'll say is, like, I didn't expect to be able to, like, pry out the eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
So even my best appraisal was like, maybe I'll go to one of the stairwells if I can find a way of, like I said, Metal Gear Solid style, circumventing the teleportation. And if not, well, then I'll be teleported. The fact that I was able to pry them, I was like, well, I can't not have these, right? Like,
absolutely.
It completely solidifies in the action, right? The decision making in a different direction. Like, there's just no way to, like, deny that. At that point.
100%.
It was cool. Yeah.
Yep. So, the good side effect too is if we can handle it, this could be very effective for exploration purposes, because you're not as a group moving through one section, right?
True.
Like, you're simultaneously moving through 3.
That's very true. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, you'll triple your the amount that you're actually exploring, which is pretty cool. All right, so we'll leave it there. That was that was a full session basically of Tack-on effects, but that's okay.
We're gonna go for like 40 minutes.
I know, but it was worth it. It was totally fun. We got a lot done,
man.
Yeah, and you're only 2.5 hours in, so I'm gonna have to rectify like how that lines up with everybody else's timelines. We're gonna have to keep 3 separate time trackers, but that'll be one of my crosses to bear in the new session.
Thanks for running with me. I was waiting for you to, like, do the wink and be like, let's cut it here, and you just didn't. I was like, okay, well,
that's fine. I think everyone will be happy to see it. So I hope everyone enjoyed this Tack-on Effects, technically episode 50.5, and we will see you next time for episode 51 of the Halls of Arden Vul. Please do not forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget that we also have a Patreon, which you should definitely join. Lots of cool benefits, and we have a freely available public Discord, which you definitely join the conversation. And don't forget to check out our first publication, known as Feats of Exploration, which you've seen in every single episode, and which you can freely access in the video descriptions of every past episode of Arden Vul. So please go check that out on DriveThruRPG and itch.io. Links are down below in the description. And until that time, thanks everybody, and we will see you next session. Bye now.
Thanks, John.